Imagine this. You're scrolling through your phone asking ChatGPT to whip up an email or brainstorm ideas for your next project. It feels like magic, quick, effortless, and oh so convenient. But what if that convenience is quietly eroding the very fabric of your mind? What if relying on AI is like outsourcing your brain's workout, leaving it weaker and more vulnerable over time? This isn't some sci-fi thriller. It's the core warning from a riveting podcast episode on the Diary of a CEO, hosted by entrepreneur Steven Bartlett. In this discussion, Bartlett sits down with two heavyweights in brain science. Bartlett sits down, Dr. Daniel Amen, a psychiatrist who scanned more brains than anyone else on the planet, think celebrities like Justin Bieber and Miley Cyrus, and Dr. Terry Sejnowski, a pioneer in computational neuroscience who helped invent the foundations of modern AI back in the 1980s. Together, they unpack a shocking new MIT study and explore how our love affair with tools like ChatGPT could be shrinking our brains, killing creativity, and paving the way for cognitive decline. As someone who's dived deep into this conversation, I'll walk you through it like a storyteller recounting a cautionary tale, clear, engaging, and free of jargon overload. So anyone from a curious teen to a busy parent can grasp why this matters. Let's start at the beginning. The episode kicks off with Bartlett setting the scene, his voice laced with a mix of excitement and alarm. He's no stranger to AI. He admits to using ChatGPT daily for everything from scripting podcasts to generating content. But then he drops the bombshell. A recent study from MIT researchers that should make us all pause before hitting generate again. Over 4 months, they tracked 54 students from Boston area universities as they wrote essays. Some used ChatGPT, others relied on Google, and a control group went old school with no digital aids. The results? Jaw-dropping. Those leaning on ChatGPT saw a 47% drop in brain activity compared to the unaided writers. Even worse, their memory tanked. 83% couldn't recall what they'd written just minutes later. And when forced to write without AI later on, they struggled more than ever, as if their brains had accumulated a cognitive debt. Bartlett confesses this hit him hard, prompting him to invite Amen and Sejnowski to dissect what's going on. Dr. Amen, with his warm yet authoritative tone, jumps in first. At 71, he's personally invested. He knows his odds of dementia by 85 are about 50-50, and he's determined to beat them. He explains the brain like a muscle. Use it or lose it. Cognitive load, he says, is the mental effort we put in, akin to lifting weights at the gym. When AI does the heavy lifting, we're essentially using lighter dumbbells, and over time, that leads to atrophy. He backs this up with decades of brain scans showing that lifelong learners, people who read, solve puzzles, or tackle new skills, have lower dementia risks. One study he cites: in populations with less education, Alzheimer's hits earlier and harder. Sejnowski, the more tech-optimistic of the duo, nods along but adds nuance. As a co-creator of the Boltzmann machine, an early AI model that mimicked brain neurons and influenced today's neural networks, he compares AI to calculators. Sure, calculators freed us from rote math, allowing focus on higher concepts, but they also reduced our mental arithmetic skills. AI could do the same if we let it replace thinking rather than enhance it. This leads to a fascinating debate on how we actually use AI. Men shares how he uploads his own books and articles into ChatGPT, then quizzes it or debates with it. It's about interaction, he stresses. Don't just copy-paste, engage. But Bartlett points out the reality. Most people aren't doing that. We're deferring to AI for emails, social posts, even creative writing, chasing short-term ease over long-term brain health. It's human nature, he says. Think junk food or endless scrolling. We know it's bad, but the dopamine hit wins. Imen agrees, lamenting how society doesn't teach brain care like we do physical fitness. If you want better relationships, a sharper mind, or even more money, he quips, love your brain. He envisions schools educating kids on this, turning brain health into a cultural priority. The conversation takes a darker turn when they pivot to kids in AI. Amen is blunt. I'm hugely concerned. Children's brains are like sponges wired for rapid growth through effort and interaction. If AI handles homework or storytelling, what happens to that development? Sejnowski, drawing from his neuroscience roots, emphasizes the gold standard, one-on-one human teaching, but he sees potential in AI tutors, if designed right, scaling personalized education globally. The catch? AI lacks the basal ganglia, the brain's reward system for motivation and learning from mistakes. Plus, it's biased by its training data, often reflecting Western values. What if it teaches kids the wrong lessons? Amen chimes in with anecdotes from his clinics. Parents glued to screens, kids mimicking that distraction. It's a vicious cycle, he warns, where AI could amplify isolation. Speaking of isolation, they delve into artificial intimacy. AI companions like chatbots offer endless conversation without the messiness of real relationships. But Amen argues this erodes resilience. Real connections build brain reserve, a buffer against stress and aging, through empathy, conflict resolution, and emotional growth. Sejnowski adds evolutionary context. Our brains evolved in social tribes, not solitary screens. Relying on AI might mimic intimacy, but starves the brain's social circuits, leading to higher anxiety and depression rates. They reference rising mental health crises, with Amen noting 25% of Americans on psychiatric meds, many of which, like SSRIs and benzos, could hike dementia risk by 75% per recent meta-analyses. His scans show benzos aging the brain prematurely. Midway through, the talk broadens to multitasking, a modern plague. Amen cites studies. Multitaskers have thinner gray matter in key areas like the anterior cingulate for focus and insula for empathy. It's not efficiency, it's training your brain to be scatterbrained. Bartlett shares a laugh about his own habits, but Oymen's serious. One thing at a time builds depth. This segues into hope and mindset. From scanning 7,500 patients, Amen found low hope folks have sluggish prefrontal cortices. Hope, he says, is a skill. Train it by focusing on possibilities. Depression isn't one size fits all. His book, Healing Anxiety and Depression, outlines 7 types from overactive to underactive brains. For ADHD, exploding in diagnoses, it's genetic, runs in families, and environmental, head injuries, screens, poor diets. He defends meds when needed. Untreated ADHD means higher dropout rates, but promotes alternatives like omega-3s, exercise, and neurofeedback. Negativity gets its spotlight too. Amen's questionnaire reveals chronic naysayers have dimmer brain activity, raising Alzheimer's odds. Balance is key. 85% positivity, 15% realism. Women with larger limbic systems and lower serotonin are hit harder. Depression doubles their dementia risk, quadruples for men. COVID amplified this. Amen's scans show lingering inflammation in the limbic brain, explaining persistent fog and mood dips. Women's depression rates doubled during the pandemic and stayed high, perhaps from hormonal shifts. But it's not all doom. The experts pivot to solutions, making this the episode's uplifting core. Sejnowski kicks off. Exercise is non-negotiable. It boosts blood flow, grows new neurons, and combats inflammation. Altman adds starting days positively. Look for what's right, not wrong. And loading up on omega-3s from fish or supplements, since they form 25% of brain membranes. Learning while moving? Double win. Hippocampus loves it for memory. An anecdote lights up the chat. A scientist aced learning in saunas, backed by studies showing saunas/depression and Alzheimer's risk via heat-induced blood flow. They circle back to AI's broader societal rollout. Sejnowski, reflective, notes we've adopted it without foresight, like video games or social media before. Amen calls it a Trojan horse. We've thrown open the barn door and let the horse bolt into our schools, homes, and businesses, embracing convenience before understanding consequence. Examples abound. Processed foods hooked us on ease, leading to obesity epidemics. Screens stole sleep, spiking anxiety. AI could be next unless we use it mindfully. In the conclusion, Bartlett asks for top takeaways. Sejnowski, prioritize sleep. It's when memories consolidate and brains recharge. Amen. Love your brain daily through choices. Bartlett wraps with a call to action. Balance AI as a tool, not a crutch. Engage deeply, interact humanly, and build resilience.